Hello and a warm Collisions YYC welcome to the lovely, the talented, the unstoppable Miss Brenda Beckedorf. How you doing, Brenda?
Great, Tyler. Thanks for having me on. I love our conversations.
Oh, we're overdue. You might be close to the 5 Timers Club. I'm going to have to check my records.
I think this is my fourth.
Is it your fourth? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Well, it's a testament to the things you have going on and how much impact you make on the community that you live in, which is Western Canada, much broader than that, but we'll stick in that sandbox for right now. And I was honest with you off air. I purposely don't know nearly enough about Society 5.0. And I was about to do some research yesterday and I was like, you know what? Why would I when I've got the woman herself here on the call? So tell us a little about your Chief Executive Officer at Society 5.0. So let's start right from the top. Let us into the tent. What is Society 5.0? And let's go from there.
Sure. I love it. So Society 5.0 is a nonprofit that focuses on the businesses that are not active in the ecosystem today. And I would say in the 10 to 50 million range is predominantly where we're playing. So we look at Alberta and we go, there's a ton of energy and effort going into the startup community, but we have a ton of companies in the energy, construction, health, manufacturing that are involved in our province, but not really involved in our innovation community. And what we want to do is help our leaders in those space go through AI and digital transformation. So that's our big focus.
I love it. And you're right. If it's not new and it's not AI and it's not a startup, it's not as shiny and it doesn't get, so this is literally a perfect conversation for Collisions, which is to engage and inform a diverse and inclusive Western Canadian economy.
Exactly.
And if I'm an established business, that could be like a good business, I'm a $20 million business I've been running for 10 years. Everything I have is 10 years old, my business, and now I'm being inundated. And the terms like tech debt and the terms like being overwhelmed as a leader.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a technical term for that, but I think it's real.
Your head's down. Your head's down running your business.
You're doing the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so when we're talking to these companies, these leaders, what we're hearing is they know they need to do something, but they don't know how. And they don't have a lot of time and energy. And so the way we've set up Society 5.0 was to support them all the way through. So if we just became a private organization offering digital transformation, we're selling a service.
Yeah.
But what we want to do is build that community. And because I sit on a lot of boards, I believe very strongly in changing and adopting and making our community bigger. And my analogy is Alberta today is a teenager. We're very awkward. We're grown out of infancy, but we haven't grown into adulthood. And part of growing into adulthood is to take our community today and get not only the startups, but the scale-ups, the enterprise in the conversation.
I like that. We were joking earlier. I have a 3.5-year-old Australian Shepherd, teenager.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a volatile experience. I've never had kids, but this is my window into what it's like. And you just compared Alberta, and I kind of like that. Sometimes she's cuddly, other times she'll just bark for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Apparently. Obviously, you've been involved in the Alberta ecosystem for a long time. You and I have known each other, I don't know, 10, 15 years, like literally forever in the terms of a couple lifetimes. Obviously, you saw this need, and talk to me a little bit about, obviously you were involved in another organization before where you were really engaged, I think also in companies that were at the startup phase, but also in the mature phase. For you, was this a narrowing of the focus, basically like this is an underserved but highly impactful community to deal with?
Well, and I will step back and also say, because of the boards I'm on. So I'm on Calgary Innovation Coalition.
Nice.
So we oversee that startup, scale up entrepreneurial journey. So you could see the gaps there. And then with Alberta Women's Entrepreneur, we give out grants to women leaders that have over 50% ownership in their company. What we saw was that we were focused on startup, but now the loans are starting to go towards more the scale up. And so we saw that evolution in that role. And then, looking at, I'm on Startup Canada. So Startup Canada is very focused on the entrepreneurial journey across Canada. But again, we're starting to see that evolution into scale up. And so I think as a province and as a country, we recognize that there has to be the whole journey, not just startups, but the whole. And I think that's where I was starting to see it. And, going through the changes I did this year, one of the things I was looking at is how can I impact and stay involved with all the different roles I'm doing. And so as I did that, I thought, we're not seeing these companies in there. And so when I started talking to those leaders, they were all going like, we know there's a gap here in our knowledge set around AI and digital transformation, but we don't really know where to even go to start it. So it was an easy one for me to kind of walk into this and go, okay, how do I build this?
I love it. We're going to do another episode on how you manage your time, but we're not going to, I'm just going to put a pin. As I'm looking at your LinkedIn and listening to you talk, I'm like, where does this woman find the time? How does this human being fit it all in? And I also see your post, and I know you purposely do a lot of personal recharging, which appears to be nature, which I love also, which is maybe the secret of why you're able to do as much as you're able to do.
I will say I don't watch a lot of TV. I'm not a person sitting on the couch much, as you can probably see. But I feel like all the board work, like even like, because I do United Way digital inequity. Well, look at the role I'm in. Like I play in that space so much. So it all ties in. And so the conversations I have throughout my day bounce from each of these organizations to obviously Society 5.0, but they all tie in.
Yeah, which is that's what makes it work. If they're all like, if I'm doing something over here and something over here and they're unrelated, that's hard to even mentally have the bandwidth, right? Where each experience is allowing you to bring back and then actually brought it all together to Society 5.0. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Why 5.0? What was 3.0 and 4.0? Just curious. The marketer in me goes, where did you come up with this name?
So I will say my co-founder, Mickey Reeder, runs the Connect Group, and they do a number of conferences. So he has a nice sized team that supports us. Amazing. And so when we sat down, we were going, okay, we're kind of industry 4.0 now, but we want to be very forward thinking. So even if you look at all our material, yes, we are talking about AI, but we've left it broad. So if quantum or some other technology 5 years from now comes forward, we're okay.
Yes. Don't build for where we are today. Build for where we are 2 years from now, which can be hard for a lot of back to even business owners. It gets very conceptual. I joke, we do a lot of web work, big web projects. And I was like, well, we have to build the website for who you're going to be 2 years from now, because if we don't, it'll be outdated the second goes live. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, yeah, cool idea. And then all of a sudden it gets quiet.
Like
the room hushes down.
Where the heck are we going to be in 2 years?
What is that? Yeah. And that's a tough one. So talk to me a little bit about, I just love the way you even said AI and digital transformation. Isn't AI digital transformation? Isn't blanket term, which involves the humans and the computers and the tech and the client and all the craziness, where AI, again, another blanket term unto itself, purposely saying them separate? Or is it just that it's such a big source of inspiration and overwhelmed for companies, right? Or for humans in general, I think.
It is two parts to it. I mean, the AI conversation is huge. And I would challenge that there's not that many AI experts out there because it's growing so rapidly. Mm-hmm. But what I find, because we have clients now, and maybe I'll step back and explain how we're engaging with the community. Please. So that would explain this. So the way we've decided to do this is we're doing roundtables. They're vertical centric and peer centric. So we did the first one, it was energy. So we had Marvin Wong from Secure Energy walk a room full of 50 C-suites in the energy sector about what their journey was. So Marvin talked about the mindset of the leadership. They saw a problem that was affecting them and others in the community. They went through 14 months of a digital transformation. So AI was in there, but so was IoT, so was, a number of other technologies. So it's never just one thing. But at the end of it, they created a brand new company that supported this and resolved the challenge out there. And so it was really interesting because what we're seeing is a lot of the leaders in the room really didn't understand all the different types of technology. Okay. So spinning off of that, we will be announcing a partnership with SAIT in the next week. There's a press release going
congratulations.
out.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And so we're doing a micro-credential course for mid-managers and C-suite. It starts in October, and the idea behind it is over a period of 7 weeks, virtually for 3 hours a week. We will educate these leaders. What is AI, IoT, quantum, the connectivity? What is the business reason? What is the measurable results? So that they can walk back into their business and go, I'm not a deep, knowledgeable person in AI or IoT or quantum, but I understand it enough now to have these conversations that I need to have for my business. So we want to get the leadership to understand it. And, as a mid-manager, you're dealing with employees who are scared of AI. They think they're going to lose their job. So if you can turn around and understand it enough, then you can have that conversation with your employees. If you're an IT manager and you're very comfortable with traditional IT, but this new emerging technology is a bit scary, we want to empower you. So that's where we're going with this piece. Now, the secondary piece to it is we've now built out partners that can actually audit, roadmap, and implement the technology. That is something that we felt was really important, was to educate and bring the leaders to the table and then leave them going, and now go find, seemed like not very helpful in that journey. So we've brought our partners to the table, and what we're doing, we've engaged with over 6 companies in the first couple months. Just like that, these companies start coming out of the woodwork going, we need help. And so as we're talking to them, we're finding that it's not just an AI conversation. There's automation, managing all of this data and everything. So it's a bigger conversation. So we stay involved so we can help the client turn around, go through this journey. And if there's a gap, like they need a change management team, they need financing. We're starting to work with some very large players around the financing piece. So we want to bring all these players to the table and make the journey as easy as possible.
I really appreciate that. Because don't get me excited about something and then send me out into the wilderness on my own to try to fend for myself. That's and then guess what? The day-to-day grind of your business can sabotage your time. And we all know that the joke, our office, you go back to your office and the alligators of your time alligators are all waiting to eat up your time. Which I love.
Exactly.
You guys are a non-for-profit. Talk to me. Is it membership based? Do I sign up as a member? Do I pay for training? Okay. How does it work? How does it work?
Yeah. So first of all, we are a membership based there. We try to keep it nominal just to get you involved. We're going to have a ton of events that we're scheduling for the fall, but we're also working with a number of conferences, including running one ourselves, that we will get discounts for, and that will be passed on to our members. We also have sponsors that we're working with. Again, it's a nonprofit. We're trying to generate our own revenue as much as possible, although obviously we're talking to government, both provincially and federally. The other part, though, the course, for instance, is going to be around $3,000, but there's a government grant that covers almost 70% of it.
Okay, so you're leveraging the incentives that are out there to support.
We're trying to make it as easy as possible. Yeah.
And is this Alberta focus to start? Obviously, this is our share. You and I literally almost share a backyard. Brenda and I are neighbors.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know or didn't need to know, but Alberta is my favorite place to play. Is this an Alberta centric initiative certainly for phase 1? Because I know you
phase
well enough.
Phase 1.
I know you well
Alberta.
enough to know there will be a phase 2, 3, 4, 5.
There is, but we are set up federally.
Okay.
And we are having conversations with the federal government because there's a gap across Canada. And maybe just for an awareness, I think I sent you the Canadian Chamber of Commerce AI report.
You did. I read that actually. It was kind of, it was discouraging, overwhelming. It was a bunch of different things. I had a roller coaster as I was reading that document. Absolutely. Yeah.
I know. The stats were disheartening to say the least.
They were not. I sent it to a few of my team. They're like, "What do you want me to do with this? It's kind of negative." I'm like, "Well, it's just a point. It's a data point. Just be aware and let's look at the opportunity." Because immediately as a business owner, I'm like, "Well, if everyone's behind and I can get a little bit ahead, that's an opportunity for me." That's how I chose to look at that document.
Well, and just for our listeners, 12% of Albertan companies have gone through an AI digital transformation. 12%. Across Canada, we might push up into the 20s. If you start looking at the US and Europe, we're over 70%. So when our companies play on a national, international stage, how behind are we? And our productivity is just dismal compared to other parts of the world. So again, we need to be competitive, and how can we? And so this speaks to all of that. And it's interesting, one of the stats that really stood out for me was those who are exporting outside of Canada are more likely to adopt AI than those who are not exporting, because they just realize the only way for them to be competitive is to.
And you're playing in a sandbox where it's more table stakes. You can't tout it as a value proposition when everyone else is doing it, right?
Well, and
so we're late. We're late to the party.
Late, and it's interesting. Last year, I did quite a few trips to Europe to conferences where there's 85,000 companies from all over the world, and we were bringing companies in from Alberta to show them what that world looked like, and obviously try to get them new customers and everything else. But the number one thing I heard from them was, oh my gosh, we have so much to do to grow to the level of maturity to play on this stage.
What do you think? You are my expert because you're on the other side of the microphone. Why are we so far? I'm be blunt. Why are we so far behind? What's going on?
I would say fear. Fear is a huge one. We also don't put a lot of money into R&D, and we need to. We really do need to. And I think our mind shift over the next couple of years has to change. If we don't, we're going to get left behind.
Well, sometimes fear is okay, but which monster are you scared of? Are you scared of the monster of change, or you should be really effing scared of the monster of being completely left behind? That's a scarier monster, right? And that monster is under the bed. It's in the closet.
and I think sometimes when your head's down, just trying to keep going,
of course,
it's hard to look up and see that, but it's a reality that we've got to face.
When you're dealing, because not every role in the organization is to look out 5 years, but there's certain roles that it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Are you finding with some of the companies you're dealing with, obviously there's got to be a profile, I would imagine, of leaders that are like, no, I'm putting myself in this environment to force myself or to create the opportunity or to, to look out that, that CEO and, who knows where we're going to be in 5 years, but you at least need to start looking down the path, right?
You do. And it is definitely the leaders that are willing to put themselves out there and say, like, I'm on calls with leadership teams and they're putting their hand up and saying, we don't know, but we're okay that we don't know. And we're willing to be open to being learning, and we're open to having really deep conversations. Now, I do feel like part of our whole strategy when we go through an audit is to actually take a couple hours and do a workshop to educate leadership. Like, we recognize we have to do that before we even go through a full audit and roadmap, because they need to understand foundational stuff before we hand them this big, huge report that they can go off and implement. But if they don't actually have a good foundational understanding of it, how can they?
And it's so easy, as my own personal view here, to hide in the technology. The human technology is the messiest technology.
Exactly.
What I believe, what I'm comfortable with, where I feel threatened from. I recently did a podcast with Kamalesh Lardi, who's a digital transformation expert out of Zurich, Switzerland. Fantastic lady. And she really talked about where we were blowing. It wasn't with the tech. It was understanding the fear. And she goes, it's almost like the 4 stages of grief people go through, of like they kind of give up and they have to be a bit defensive of the way they've done it, because that's what they get their pride from. That's where they get their identity from. And then you go, oh, by the way, that way you've been doing it, it's garbage. We're doing it a new way. And we're expecting them to just put up their hand and go, jolly good. What an awesome idea. That's just not often how humans respond.
No, I would say fear is definitely the highest thing, but it's not just leadership fear. It's employee fear.
Yeah.
And we do believe, if you look at all the stats out there, and nobody has the crystal ball that's clear right now. I think everybody's crystal ball is quite murky, but I do think it's going to impact employees, especially those in administrative, marketing, and sales. You gotta look at where you're going to go. So I spoke in front of a large crowd a couple months ago, and they were all in a space where they were going to be impacted. And my biggest message to them was, now is the time to start looking at upskilling or reskilling. You need to turn around and adopt this knowledge and recognize that going forward, you're going to have to keep educating yourself. So, and you're a marketeer, so you understand that. You probably have already seen how AI is impacting your organization.
That sounds a lot like Musketeer, and sometimes you are a cheerleader.
Musketeer.
and it's
sort out there.
And so many of the tools, like, and it's impacting you. If you're like, oh, what about AI? I'm like, well, we're already using it. It's already embedded in so many tools. Like, Google's been finishing my sentences for multiple years. That was AI. Everybody like, oh, I don't use AI. I'm like, well, yeah, you do. Do you use Google Maps? Do you use your phone? Like, pick the thing. It's embedded. And thinking about then how do you optimize and how do you streamline that? And like you said, you could be fearful of it and be paralyzed, but we can look back at major shifts in our, into the industrial level. Pick the thing. It created more jobs while it did eliminate some, but those individuals that were willing to be, quote, lifetime learners, there's always opportunities. And I'm not saying it flippantly, but it does still come down to us making our own choices to move forward and be curious and have a growth. We were joking earlier, growth versus fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset where you're scared to look bad or you're scared to try something new because you're an expert in your field, but that field is disappearing, people can feel sorry for you, but you will get left behind anyways. But I think that's also the evolution of things. It's just a hell of a lot faster these days, it seems.
It is. It's going to impact things that we don't think about, though. And so let's go with virtual counseling, or like I actually see my vet on video. I don't have to go to a vet office if I don't want to, unless it's critical, obviously.
Sooner or later, you have to take the puppers in, but I know what you mean.
You do. But like my guy had a runny eye, so do I need to take him in? You had him on the camera and
you're like, is this serious? Do I have to worry about this?
Yeah, exactly. But it changes. And then the question becomes, what is the cost? If I'm only 10 minutes on a vet call versus going into an office. And let's look at the legal institution where now we don't have junior lawyers spending all their time on case studies. We have AI doing it. And so things move faster. Do we get a lower legal bill because of that? And so this
Brenda,
starts
first of all, don't be ridiculous. No one's getting you in the world of like, how much does that cost? But I hear it's shifting so many models. And I think right now you're seeing models where it's kind of like, we're going to keep it the same, but we're going to try to save costs over here, which then could be margin increase. But then that's where you get disruption and you get those new companies coming in going, we don't have overhead. We don't have offices. We don't have this legacy model. We can do it cheaper because we built a different business that gives a similar service. That's when it gets scary and whole industries get shifted, some seemingly overnight. Well,
and then let's look at the geographic boundary. How many people?
What geographic boundary?
Yeah, exactly. I spoke with a young person not long ago who works. He lives in Calgary, but works in Silicon Valley. He's a software developer, and I said, "Why wouldn't you get a job in Canada?" And he goes, "Because the job requirements when they put the posting up are so long and convoluted in Canada, and Silicon Valley just needed one skill from me." And I'm like, we are going to have to really look at every aspect of our company and go, what are we doing here to make ourselves relevant in that bigger stage? Because unless you're a restaurant, you're playing on a bigger stage.
Always, because your competition, your access, even us going as a remote company, our recruiting is such a different mindset now because we recruit anywhere in Canada. As long as you're within a couple time zones, because there's a certain point where that gets extra challenging, but 1 or 2 time zones doesn't, an hour or 2 hours. It actually gives you a longer work-day, so you're able to deliver more value without anybody having to work 14-hour days. And when we recruit, people are like, oh, geez, what's it like hiring in Calgary? I'm like, I don't know. If we find someone in Calgary, it's just because that's who applied and they were the best candidate. It's way down the list of criteria. And that's not a very small example, but it changed our access to talent, which in a service-based business, that's what you got is your talent.
Exactly. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. I also think, and because you brought the talent thing up, I think talent's a very interesting place right now because we were hearing, oh my gosh, there's not enough talent in Alberta, Canada. We're struggling. But then I talked to a whole bunch of people who are struggling to get jobs.
I've heard, yes.
And so I think there's a bit of a disconnect. We need very, very specific talent now. Very specific. And
is that more mid to senior level talent? Like where you're seeing for the...
Not necessarily. I think it's the technology talent. Like, I was at a round table with ICTC not that long ago, and they were setting up a course for very, very specific technology talent that was a gap in our ecosystem. And I think that's going to become very relevant now because it's like we really need that one skill. And it doesn't matter where they are, but we need that one skill. But do we need as many people in admin roles and roles like that? Like it's going to change it.
Which that are not, and I say this very respectfully, not directly client value add roles, they're support roles. Yeah. And if you can get that support from somewhere else, like that's the tricky balance of which side of the P&L are you on the revenue side or the expense side? And that's a tricky balance. And I don't want to say it in a dehumanizing way, but to a certain extent, businesses need to be a bit agnostic in the way they look at where are we creating value and therefore generating revenue from that value creation.
Now, where it gets concerning is the roles that are likely to be impacted are more likely to be females.
Yeah,
because of the typical.
You get into the gender. Yeah,
we do get into the gender thing. And so again, how do we turn around and start upskilling, reskilling now to be relevant? And unfortunately, that is the way of the future. We have to get out there and keep learning and trying to figure out our path. I don't think our career paths are going to be straightforward. I have a stepson who's now about to do his medical exams. And I'm like, 5% of the kids are going to get in. And he's a smart kid, but I'm like, what's your backup plan? And he's going, I don't know. And
you have to kind of be all in, but at the same time, 5% is that's a pretty low. That's 5%.
And I'm going, and here's all these off ramps that you could go on because he loves research and medical. And I'm like, here, look at these other jobs because you're going to have to go, and your path is likely to be very zigzaggy in your life.
Which I love. If you want to take that, that's amazing. Because in times of past, I didn't get into the one path. I have to do something completely different. I love what you said of what about this job? What about this role? What about this thing? I'll not even call it a job that you love. Where else does that thing live? In so many other places.
Exactly.
And that's super empowering to me. There's my growth mindset going, holy shit, that sounds amazing. What could I do with this hammer that I can dress up into all kinds of different ways as I'm looking for nails to hit?
And I'm sure someone's thought of this, but I think it would be awesome to turn around and take someone, and I'm sure there's career people who can do this, that can take the skills and go, okay, this job isn't going to be relevant in 5 years. Here's the 5 different other areas. And with a little reskilling, you could go into any one of those 5 paths. I'm sure someone's doing it.
Yeah, that sounds, Even to say what's not going to be relevant in 5 years, in what way will it not be relevant? In what way could it be more relevant? It's so not binary. Oh, this will be gone. Yeah. Well, very few things, I guess, eventually, if you look back in the Industrial Revolution, the guys, was it Coopers that made barrels? I went to the Guinness storehouse in Dublin, and I'm like, there was a whole yard full of guys making barrels. Don't see a lot of people making barrels these days. So what did they end up doing? There's some version of that happening almost all the time, right?
Who stopped making typewriters and where did they go?
Yeah.
You're right.
We can. All right, we'll stop because we can I have another example.
Yeah.
But curious, Alberta women's entrepreneurs, obviously being an amazing, inspiring female leader, just a human being, but you happen to be able to be female. Are you seeing though, like you said, women are going to be infected? Are you also seeing a huge wave of women stepping up going, oh no, I'm going to get educated. I'm going to go to the Inception U's of the world and I could laundry list a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And is there barriers around I'm from a gender base that I'm not going to go upskill because or is it a ferocious hell yeah I'm going to change? What are you seeing? I'm just curious. That's you're the female, so now you're the expert. Sounds such a weird. Sorry, it feels even weird how I asked that question.
No, I totally got where you're.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. Thanks for bailing me out.
Yeah. So 2 parts. One of the things I thought was really impressive with Alberta Women's Entrepreneur and Marcella, the CEO.
Oh, she's great. I've had her on a couple of times. She's a rock star.
Yeah, she's amazing. They pivoted and put a lot of things on video that you can listen to anytime you want.
Amazing.
So if you're trying to do a business plan, if you're trying to do, and they've now created a growth course too.
If you're trying to raise a family while also doing these things, let's not limit these individuals from growth. I love
100%. And what I thought was interesting is that the videos are being utilized mostly between 11 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning, which speaks to being a young mom, right?
That poor young mom who's also sleep deprived like there's no tomorrow. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
But what I see too is I'm hearing the word side hustle a lot. I'm hearing a lot of people going, I'm in this job. I know that's going to be impacted somewhere in the next 5 years. I don't have the forward I want. So I'm going to start working over here on creating something. So that way, somewhere in the next couple of years, my side hustle becomes my main hustle. And I am seeing more of that. I'm also seeing a lot of people just doing side hustles because financially it's so hard out there for these young people coming up.
Well, and sometimes your job is your job, and
Yeah.
And I
it's
get
not
it. Yes.
a passion.
No, exactly. 100%. And that's okay too. Like, I think we sometimes over index on, if I'm not super passionate every day at every minute, I'm somehow failing. No, I don't think that. But if you find something that can fill in those hours and that really does fill you up, fill your soul. And well, our mutual friend, Mr. Kevin Crowe, does it, does it fill up your, is it something you love that pays the bills? Do you have something that fills your soul? Like his four-legged stool metaphor.
Yeah.
Doing something physical that keeps you healthy, that, keeps you moving, and then family and friends. Those can come in a variety of shapes, and this like one career to give you all the things. I also think that that's exactly that. It's a bit of a myth.
Well, and you and I are fortunate. We get to do a job that we are pretty much passionate about. Yes. Now, is there times when I'm grinding through paperwork that I'm going,
of course, because you're human. You're human. Yeah.
But I am.
If I ever feel like I'm grinding, I just get to do a podcast with someone like you, and my day is amazing. No matter how busy I am and how much time I don't think I have to do a podcast, it fills me up every time. Hence why you'll be probably episode 450, 460. People are like, why? I'm like, because I just love it. It fills me up. It fills me up.
But you learn. How much are you learning from all of these conversations? Yeah, right?
I don't even know where it starts and know where it stops.
I know.
Sometimes I go, where would I be if I hadn't started this? And I think I'm at 550 episodes, something like that, which is now just a number that has weight unto it. Like someone doesn't even have to listen to it. They're like, well, if you've done 550 of something, it must be like somewhat like it must not suck. But I'm like, if I think about where I would be otherwise, of not having purposely, like just what we're talking about, expose myself to so much 5 miles wide, 1 inch deep kind of conversations. Yeah. But I've learned about AI, like so many things that I would literally be in the dark about if I hadn't created an environment that allowed me to bang into these new ways of thinking. And whatever 100%. That version is for you, please don't think it has to be a podcast. But like you said, get out there, take some courses, watch some videos at night. Like, I think that there's a balance. Like anything you want to find is online, but sometimes attending conferences or talking to other people, you can get inspired about something you didn't even know was there to look for. I think that's the balance 100%. Between access to information and inspiration around things that you just, oh shit, I didn't even know that was a thing. How would I go look for it if I didn't know it was out there?
I would say I would challenge your audience that might not be in the innovation community. Go to places like Calgary Innovation Coalition website. We list a lot of events. So does Alberta Women's Entrepreneur, Platform Calgary, those folks, and see the events that are out there and actually attend them. Because you will learn so much and it will blow your mind. Like I listen to these young entrepreneurs coming up and some of the things that they are trying to resolve in our the challenges out there, and they're going, we're going to fix that. And you're going, oh, you guys are so amazing. You're so passionate. And I love it. And even if you don't get there, like the idea was really cool, right?
Well, what you learn while you're on your way to a moonshot, success or failure, right? That concept
exactly.
of like, you should only hit about 70% because that other 30, you're going to learn so much because you even tried it, which is, again, as the book if anyone hasn't read Mindset by Carol Dweck, it's been around for a while, but I just finished reading it. So that's the true epitome of a growth mindset of like, oh, wow. Okay, I didn't get it perfect. That's okay. But holy hell, look what I learned. And, creating a society. I love that you're working with some of those a little bit mature businesses. It's so easy. Like we've over glamorized entrepreneurship, and I think it's awesome and risky. And at the same time, it's like, oh, you just have a kind of a lifestyle business or a $15 or $20 million business. That's kind of boring, and it's not. But yet, it's the backbone of our economy.
Exactly.
So I love that you focused on that group. I think it's so valuable. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I want to speak to. I have this amazing advisory board. So. We've had people from Suncor, Sandeep, Parma, Emerson, Aiden, Ellis Dawn, Brett from Good Lawyer, like
just
Nikki
some small
Curl.
names, that no one's heard about. Small names.
Some very large players, some investors like Nikki and Letitia and all those folks. And like when you look across at this group, each of them comes with a very strong background in very different backgrounds. So I have that diversity of thought. So we sit down with them and we go, okay, here's the challenge. How do we reach these leaders? How do we help these leaders? How do we help our province and country? And because of their knowledge set, they're coming to us and going, here's all the different things. So we're going to do the summit in February 2025. So that was formerly IoT North. It's now Society 5.0 Summit. And again, it's targeting...
Everything evolves, Brenda. Everything evolves.
Everything evolves. And so we recognize, again, that we're going after leadership across Canada and internationally to come in to become knowledgeable, but also to build better business connections, right? And so this is what we're evolving to. And so again, we go to this leadership and we go, how do I get someone like you, Sandeep, who's very busy with Suncor, or you, Justin, or Hamad over at Elliston? How do we get you to come to a 2-day conference? What do you need to learn and see? And,
what's in it for you? What's in it for you?
Right? Like, what's in it for you? And that's really helping us a lot.
When you look at your market opportunity, which is always your TAM, whatever acronym you want to use, what does this look like when you look at those $10 to $50 million? I can only imagine there's a boatload of them in Alberta, and not even beyond. Like, do you have the numbers? Because like some of this is census, you can pull these numbers.
Well, I think what the census so far is 160,000 companies in Alberta, with about 4,000 of them that are actively startups involved in our ecosystem. That leaves us about 155,000 companies. Now, even
that's
if you
a staggering number, that makes me so
right?
excited. That makes me so excited.
Yeah, and initially I went, oh well, we'll take off all the smaller companies like construction, like a roofing company. Except I had a roofing company say to me, well, we were trying to be relevant and we were trying to come up with new ways to turn around and go to market. And we were tired of seeing our men go up and down the ladder 100 times looking at a roof. So we started using drones. And I went, oh my God, why am I discounting a small roofing company? Because it's
more about the demographics of mindset and what they believe and what they want to try to do, not necessarily just putting them in a bucket because of a number.
Exactly. And I went restaurants, and then McDonald's announced that they're going to go completely technical and only have 2 staff in every store. And they're both technical staff to keep all the technology running.
Yeah, there's your reskill. The line cook becomes the robotics expert.
Yeah,
because you have to work alongside that. That's so interesting.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's really relevant too is 22% of our population is going to retire in the next 5 years. What the heck are we going to do with that? We do not have enough young people coming up that can step into all the roles that are going to be left. So in China,
and the organizational knowledge and the wisdom that you're going to have in so many roles about
impactful.
The subject matter experts that you need to sit alongside the technology experts to then implement a relevant tech to solve a relevant industry problem. And that's huge.
I think what you're going to see is a lot of these retirees on contract to support these organizations.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be such a need.
I retired and I've never been busier. I've heard that from a few friends.
Exactly. And it's interesting in China because of their population and what's going on there. Yeah. They can't afford to have their young people on the floors anymore building cars and automation and everything. So they've gone completely robotic because they need their young people elsewhere. And you're going to see those shifts. So it's really exciting and really scary.
If you want to really, go down the rabbit hole of demographics and like the trends and just like, you can argue this, you can argue that. But if you're top heavy on your bell curve, it's supposed to look like a bell. If it doesn't look like that, you can almost foresee the exact challenges you're going to have as a society just because of people aging in and aging out of just certain cohorts, right?
Well, and then you got young people coming up, and I have 6 kids, as you know. It's a blend.
Yes, you do. Yep. The Brady bunch. Is that the right term?
I have the Brady bunch, and I have 2 kids who are software developers. I have, out of my 6 kids, 4 of them are remote, completely remote. And that is their world. But their world is they also don't go to restaurants as much. They do skip the dish. When they get their groceries, they have it ordered to their home. They have built a life where when they go out, it's only because they want to, with friends, maybe hiking, whatever.
For experiences.
Yeah, for experiences. They don't need to go out the way we used to. It's a very different world, and that world's going to be more and more impactful as these young people grow up.
Because that just becomes the mass of the way it is, right?
It is, right? Yeah. Like
I was talking to some friend of mine the other day, and it was they were in their mid-50s, and they were ranting about something that they didn't care about. I said, with all due respect, it doesn't matter what you think because and they're like, nobody likes that, right? Nobody likes to not matter in a certain area. And of course, they were being a bit opinionated, so I decided to be a bit aggressive. It was a good dialogue, and I was like, but no one really cares what you think because you're not the future. They're like, geez, that's bullshit. It was like, there's a certain degree of that you need to accept and just embrace it. And I think it's much better. You can fight it, but I've tried to fight aging, and I think I need to dance with it more than fight with it.
you need
mentally,
to spend,
beliefs, values, and otherwise. Physical is a whole other conversation.
And I think to that point, our leadership need to listen to what our young people are saying, because no matter how hard we try to keep ourselves going in the same box, it's not going to work. Like, I find our young people don't like to, my group like to FaceTime, but they don't text. And they don't answer the phone fast, and they're not a fan of emails. And I'm like, so how the heck do I engage with you? Right? Like, and I'm like, oh, okay, I got to be on the Teams message. Okay. But you got to go with whatever your team is, right?
Resisting it just leaves you isolated and alone eventually, in my opinion, in my experience.
100%.
Yeah, no, I think we all need a growth, or, a curious mind. I've picked the word.
Yeah.
Stay curious, stay oriented to growth. Whatever you think made you awesome today will probably be outdated tomorrow. So be willing to change that. And I love that you built an organization really focusing on kind of that as a core philosophy, with a very clear audience group. But also, you can be in that $10 to $50 million range and not be your target, because you don't have the right mindset. And that's what I'm hearing 100%. A lot about what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've got the mindset. I don't know where to go to get the support. Boom, enter Society 5.0.
Well, and it's interesting. It depends on the vertical you are in, on whether you're quick to adopt or not. We are finding certain verticals are very, very set in their way. And the journey with those verticals is going to take us some time. So we will.
Okay, I got it. All right? Who's the most open? Like, if we're not naming names, but we're talking verticals. Who's the quickest from what you're seeing in that mature organization?
That's a hard one. I would say manufacturing and health are definitely doing a lot.
Okay.
And I think it's the need. The need is there so strong that there's no choice.
To even just stay competitive, right?
Yeah. Like, if you think about the amount of people that are now wanting to stay in their home, we have to look at smart health. We have to. Manufacturing, because you're dealing with that international market. Yeah. Whereas, like, if you look at the energy sector, we are seeing adoption. Is it as fast as it needs to be? Maybe not. And then let's get into the construction industry.
Yeah, that's the culprit. And I've heard you're not the only one. It's like, oh my God, we're doing it. It's one of the few industries that it actually takes longer and costs more to do the same things that we did 20 years ago. And it's become less efficient. I've heard so many people from this space just being like, oh my God, like, we're trying, but we just can't get out from under the regulatory, like, so many factors that seem to be holding them back. But like,
it is. And to be fair, if you were someone working for a bigger company, then got a truck and started your own company, and you run it out of your truck, and a family member's a bookkeeper, and now all of a sudden you're 10 million or 20 million.
Yep. That is a very common story right there.
Yeah. So how much business acumen do you have, let alone getting into the technology conversation? Like, it's a big, but that's what we want to do at Society 5.0, is we want to do a lot of these educational events to take you through this journey. We recognize that this is not a fast win in some industries.
Is the core motivation you see, like, it's that there's got to be a better way? Like, with any of my younger team members, they're just like, why are we doing it this way? This is so inefficient. Like, there's that drive and that impetus of like, there's got to be a better way, because this seems silly. Why am I entering this in manually, or why am I porting this from here to here? And there's just seems like it's a non-negotiable for a lot of, I think, and I say young or old, I don't even like that. But if you have that mindset of like, I know there's a better way, why am I doing it? Well, it's the way we've always done it. Oh, now it makes me want to blow it up even more.
Yeah, exactly. I would say one of the things, and this, Alberta is such an amazing place right now. Like, there's so much passion. So many people are putting energy into helping this province become diversified. And you're seeing the energy. And then when I start talking to the folks with Startup Canada, and we start talking about kind of companies in BC and Ontario and Nova Scotia, and you're seeing the same passion. And I'm going, we need to become more unified. It can't be a Calgary and Edmonton story or a rural story. It can't be an Alberta
We're too small.
Yeah.
We're too small to do that, because we're competing against much larger, more unified. I completely, and it's fine. I love a little, I grew up in Montreal, so Toronto, Montreal, and then Calgary, Edmonton. But from a business and a global perspective, that's very limiting. We're actually causing putting ourselves in a riskier position, I think.
And I think the opportunity in the next 5 years for both Alberta and Western Canada and Canada is significant if we can all pull together. And I'm seeing a lot of energy being both from government, but also all the big organizations out there, nonprofits out there. Like there's a lot of people trying to drive the same path. So yeah.
And are you seeing more collaborations? Like, is it less my sandbox, your sandbox, and more like this problem is too big for either of us to try to solve on our own? And I've been hearing people, even the energy sector, which was very much like, get off my side of the street or get off my, because it's very territorial. I have this piece of land. It's, it is a land-based exploration kind of modeled at that primary level, where now it seems like I'm hearing from people that, oh no, it's a lot more collaborative than it was even 5 years ago.
I would 100% agree. And what I'm excited about, I've been on a lot of round tables and doing surveys a lot lately.
Back to how do you fit it all in? But anyways,
but both provincially and federally, we're hearing a lot of big conversations. The funders, whether Prairie Can, Alberta Innovates, OSA, they're all having those conversations. What do we need to do to be relevant in the next 5 years and help this movement forward? So I'm excited to see that. I think it's really important for us to have these conversations right now.
Well, it's a true transformation story. And I love, out of that 160,000, there's a small portion of them that are startups. So if we're really going to have impact, we need to then ladder up into that bigger group, cohort. And not to use this as an opportunity, but it's no different than energy. Yes, all of these different diverse energy sources, but we need abundance. We don't need scarcity. It's not about, well, let's turn this one on and shut that one off. Let's transition. Let's learn. Let's be inclusive. Let's make good choices. I love to hear some focus now on these organizations that maybe didn't feel like they were part of the conversation because they weren't as sexy as the startup, which we've put a lot of focus into, which we needed to in Alberta. Like, I don't think anybody's done anything wrong. It's just now we're at the next phase of let's bring everybody in if we're really, because 160,000, that's a really impressive number. Like that, you kind of floored me with that number. I didn't know it was that big.
It's a big number. And what I think is also really exciting, if I'm a company that's got out of startup mode and into scale up, who's mentoring me going forward? I need these mature companies to come in and help me with the business mentorship. But now these larger companies, scale ups, can actually talk to these younger, newer entrepreneurs, and they've got some cool ideas, and maybe they have a product or a solution that can actually help these companies. So that cross-pollination of ideas will be impactful.
And if you get a little closer on mindset, those collaborations are going to go a lot better. So, because that 100%. Is often the challenge, right? A small startup that has an amazing problem to solve goes to work with a large organization and gets crushed by their governance, by their, this is the way we do it. But yet that big companies go, we need to be innovative. Yet we're under the burden of what it takes to run a large multinational organization. There are checks and balances that are just not in place in an innovative, fast-moving startup environment.
Exactly. So,
and they're both right. Based on where they are, but how do we bridge the gap and get them together?
Well, and because we don't have as much maturity in the innovation community, we're getting there, but we don't. How do you turn around and help someone that, like I look at some of these amazing players like Zazoom and Good Lawyer and Adabotics, and those leadership teams are now our mature companies. And you know what? I give them a lot of credit because they're all stepping up into that leadership role for those coming up, but who's mentoring them? And, they can only do so much because there's a handful of them.
Yeah.
Right. So
we're 10 years from now. Now, a lot of them they have exited. They're back in. Like now, we get through that cycle, but there is a time cycle. There's a time horizon to this journey, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at Society 5.0 and you think about the change you're trying to create in the world, is there a metric 5 years out or 3 years out that you think about that, and maybe it was some of your numbers around, hey, the rest of the world is 70% have tried a digital transformation.
Yeah.
Is it that? Like, do you have a number that you're like, if we get here, I'll know that we're moving in the still, because it's always about moving in the right direction. Yeah. You never arrive on this journey. You're always on the journey.
That's a hard one. I would say it's going to be a couple things. We know productivity has to be increased substantially in our companies. And they're saying even if we went 6% more, 6 is a very low number, but that 6% increase in productivity would be impactful. If we turn around and take our numbers from 12% of Alberta and Canada adoption to 25, 35%, that's impactful. Those aren't even that big a number, but that's how much it would really impact us as a country and province.
Well, that's the beauty of when you take a small number, but you scale it.
Yes, exactly.
6% of a big number is a big number.
It is, right? Yeah, and then it becomes the question, right now we have a lot of companies or nonprofits and organizations focused on startups. Is there going to be more organizations like what we're doing? Is there going to be more organizations helping the larger picture of the ecosystem? And I suspect over the next few years, we're going to see more and more of that.
From a business model, like I love startups and they often don't have a lot of funds. Like let's call a spade a spade. You're working with a $40 or $50 million company. Their small budget is still probably going to be bigger for these initiatives than a startup. And that's, again, nobody's wrong. Nobody's faulted here. Oftentimes, even as a marketing organization, we've steered away from startups, unless we're just really passionate about it. We want to help them. But they're still figuring things out. And that's hard with a marketing partner because you might have a great plan and then Monday they change direction. So it's very hard, but we're a larger company that's trying things. They're building off of a different foundation. It's the scale up. Like if you're at a Series B and you just raised 20 million, it's much easier to partner with you as a marketing company because now you know what you're driving and you're going to drive the hell out of it. If you're in like seed rounds, you're still figuring it out. Who's your ICP? Those larger organizations, even though they might be going for a new ideal customer profile, they're still doing it often on the back of the thing that they've been good at for 10, 15, 20 years. It's a lot safer as to partner with those companies in a transformation setting than a net new organization.
I would agree.
My view.
I agree. What I have found is twofold though. We're seeing a sticker shock. Because I think there's not awareness of what it would cost to do an actual audit roadmap and implementation. It's not a small number. And it depends on whether, like, if you're working with us, we have some smaller partners and larger partners. And so we can choose and work with you on, price point a bit. Whereas if you go with some of the larger organizations out there, it can get really, really expensive.
Yep.
And again, we don't tend to put a lot of money in R&D.
What's the range? What's a low versus high? Just to give us and I know and anyone listening, it's subjective. It's who you are. But
very subjective.
What do you see?
$250 million to several million.
Okay.
So we're not talking,
that's a real number. Yeah.
Those are real numbers when you're going through this. Now, it's not an immediate. You can go through a process and try to keep it, but it's a cost. So one of the things now that we've kind of got some really strong partners to support us, we're now looking at that can do the technology piece. We're now working with some partners on the financial piece. Because again, if I walk in the door
you mentioned
and
that
go,
at the beginning.
Like if I walk in the door and go, so this partner has a really great plan for you. Do you have $250,000 ready to spend? Yeah, exactly.
And a silence falls over the room. Yeah, I understand.
Exactly,
I understand.
which is fair, right? Like if I go renovate my house, do I just go take it out of my bank account or do I go get that line of credit? Yeah. So now we go to our partners and we go, do you want to come in as a loan, a grant? What can you do for these? So we want to be able to bring that in. So we're working through right now some really big partners that, once all the paperwork's signed, I can talk about.
Of course, please. Let me know and I'm happy to share it with my audience for sure.
Yeah, but that's exactly what we're looking at too. We recognize there's a bit of a sticker shock.
No, and that's fair, which is part of the education process.
It is.
And you can take bites at it too. And even getting involved, you said $3,000, take your course, go to your summit, expose yourself to it. Like it's kind of osmosis a little bit. You've got to throw yourself in the pool and bump into the ideas a little bit too, right?
Exactly. The other part is how do we measure the ROI on this, right? Like when we hear a company go, you know what, we're 20% more profitable because we've gone through that, that's a number. Right.
Yep. And you're going to start to accumulate those success stories.
We are. We're starting to really see those numbers already. And those are really, but I can give you the list of 4 or 5 companies that have had a 20% or more increase, but that doesn't mean your company is.
Of course.
Right. Like we're going to, obviously our partners will help you figure out what your ROI is. But, it's still a little bit challenging to find that.
And the argument is that you need to look at it like plant and property from an investment perspective, because it's not like, oh, it's like when people talk about marketing. I'm like, well, is it an ongoing marketing budget, or is it building a website that you're going to use for 5 years? Like this is platform stuff. And I know that that's often those kind of organizations, they've got a lot of fixed assets. They've got a lot of big iron. They've got those things that they're like, oh, I buy it, I invest, and I depreciate it. Where they look at this, where it kind of looks like service, but it's much more of a capital expenditure in my mind. And I know that's just playing with terms a little bit, but it's also like, where does it live on the balance sheet or on the P&L? Because if it's just a pure, a service expense, wow, that seems really, but if I'm investing in this and I'm playing the long game, which a lot of these companies probably are because they've been around, it's a different mindset, but it's still money. Like I'm not trying to minimize it or downplay it in any way. Like I get that.
Yeah. And
very
again,
cool.
I
love how you're circling around it though. Hey, the money's the issue. We're going to get some money partners. Yeah. Which if I know anything about you, Brenda, that's your, I see a hole here. I'm going to fill it. I see an opportunity here. I'm going to fill that as well.
Well, and I think that's the exciting part about Society 5.0 is we can be all of that, right? Like we have companies that can come in and do things around change management because we know the employees are fearful, and we're changing how the company might even go to market. Like that's okay, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's okay because we're going to bring you along in the journey versus kind of, and I've had a few senior leaders on talking about very honestly about, we did a top-down digital transformation approach and it completely failed. Then we rebooted and we started to go talk to the individuals at the front lines and how we were going to make their days better. Yeah. And it was way more successful. It felt like it took longer, but it actually worked. I'm like, funny how we learned those lessons, right? When you say it out loud, it sounds so obvious. But as leadership teams, we often sweep in and go, we have the answers because we are the leadership team. Yet the people you're impacting every day go, what? Huh? What now?
It doesn't even work.
What? You're blowing up my day. That wasn't even a problem I was having. Like, why you bother me with that? I love it. The humans are messy and that's okay. Yep. Brenda, how do I get involved? How do I learn more? I want to attend an event. Where do I go? What do I do?
So you go onto our website, Society5, FIDEO, as in 0.com, or go on my LinkedIn page because Kosh knows I'm easy to find on LinkedIn.
You are prolific around town, and if not there, you'll just see her out and about at the many millions of events that you attend. I've run into you all the time. I love it.
Yeah, awesome.
The Calgary business community is the biggest small town ever, and I think it's one of our superpowers.
It's amazing. I love what we do here. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Brenda, thank you so much for coming on. That was a lovely conversation. I am so much more wise than I was, educated. Wisdom, I'm working on that. That's a work in progress. I know so much more than I did before, and I'm really excited, and I could not agree with you more on the space that you chose to play in. And if we're going to really raise all boats, the startup and that ecosystem is amazing. And I do think we're doing so much better than we were even when I started this show, to then now go, well, what about everybody else? And what about really raising the tide here for everybody? That's fantastic. So thank you for the work you do as always. And thank you for the chat.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
You too.